Hey guys, it's Boo Radley. Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be talking more about base building. I know I've made a separate video about it, but that separate video is more geared towards like newer players. And last night on my Twitch stream, I was showing around my house, my new base, and essentially explaining my thought process and the kind of the strategy that went behind it and why I built it the way I did. This guide is going to be more geared towards late game players, people who've been playing the game for a while and might want to upgrade their base into something more efficient that can acquire more of the late game materials that we're all craving. So I'm going to get into it, but first please like and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. It really supports my videos and my stream, my channel as well. The algorithm can be a real sometimes, so I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the support from everybody. It really means a lot, especially when there could be a lot of crazy things happening in life. Enough talking, enough of the bull crap, let's just get into this. So for starters, I just want to give a quick look at what I've been working on so far. This is my upgraded version of my base compared to the last video I've made. You could see that it's based on the original design. I just expanded upon it. I made it a lot bigger. I used a lot more of the curved foundations and other types of curved architecture that they give us in the memetics in order to kind of expand the space and allow for a lot more both aesthetically pleasing build while also being very practical and opening up a lot of room for opportunities with your design, right? Of course, above all else, I focus on defense. I try to make sure that the base not only functions in terms of farming things, but also in defense. That's the reason why you have this wall perimeter, just like my other build. It provides an extra cushion to the important part of your base that you don't want to lose and have anything break for. So it's just really good to have that here. I'm going to explain how I ended up building this. I'm actually going to show how I built the base foundation for this. But first, I want to talk about something that's a lot more important. Location, right? The coveted late game resources so far seem to be acid and fuel, right? Fuel, which is created through harvesting oil. You can only find oil in one location of the map so far, right? And that would be in this general area of the red sands. If you see here, there's a lot of oil rigs set up all over the place, and the ground essentially has a bunch of oil underneath it. You can kind of tell also when you come to this area, there's going to be like a lot of patches of oil just on the ground, like oil spills and stuff like that. So usually if you see that, you could put a water pump onto the ground there and you'll get oil instead of water. It'll be crude oil. A lot of the rivers that come through here, it looks like on the map that these aren't actually rivers from the way that they've, I guess, designed. It looks like it's almost dried up at these portions, but there's water here. It's important to also settle along the river. You're not going to be able to get water in any other way because it doesn't really rain out here. And since you're pumping oil out of the ground, you're not going to be able to get water through those water pumps. So getting water through your river system is important. So if you place the water pumps into the river, you'll get your water. If you place it onto the ground, you'll get your oil. Now we'll also preface this with saying that some of these areas that are in this red sands region, for some reason, even though they're supposed to be pumping out oil, they don't really pump out oil. So like, for example, around here, this is where I first started making my base and testing out a lot of that kind of resource farming stuff. And for some weird reason, my pumps were not getting any type of oil at all. It just kept pumping out water, which is fine, I guess, but it wasn't the purpose of me moving out here. So just keep that in mind. You want to be able to settle here along the riverbank or like close to some type of other body of water. I'm assuming, maybe, I haven't tested it out, that there might be oil patches up here, but I feel like it might be a little bit too far. Not sure. Just also keep in mind when you come here, you're probably going to see a lot of people already settled up. So as you can see, I have a bunch of neighbors here. So it's going to be a pretty tough time finding a spot for you to settle that's also on the riverbank where you could be able to get your water. But you'll be able to squeeze in somehow if you give yourself some time. Check the other worlds too. Make sure that the other worlds don't have like complete blockage onto the river from people building there. It's gonna be a little bit tough, and I know that once the server wipes happen, you'll have a better opportunity of being able to score one of these locations, so I would recommend keeping that in mind when the server wipes do happen. And so before I go into showing how to actually get the base foundation set up to build this thing, I'm gonna show you like a MTV crib style, I guess, showing of my house, just to explain how I positioned everything the way I set it up strategically and for efficiency purposes, and also to show you how you can make it a little bit more your own build, and also kind of just hardcore focusing it on whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. The first portion of this house, when you come into the front, you just see this like little stairway courtyard here. The reason why I have this is so that if for whatever reason we're towards the front, like a player or me is by the front during a purification process and we need to get back up, I had placed staircases to get back onto the wall and even further, and you're going to see this all over the place. Staircases from every single side and angle and portion of this wall that lead back up into this floor essentially, and that could also lead to the top of the roof as well as the inside of the roof. I'm trying to make it easier so that when we do the battles and we have to like go from one spot to another, if we do have to for whatever reason, that we can get back up pretty easily. These staircases on the outside are only for when I'm not doing any purification. Like this is just for like any moment outside of fighting enemies, so it's just easier for me to get back into a certain part of the area of the house without having to walk all the way towards the front. And with this little extra portion, this little building, which I did not have in my original guide, and it's for a specific reason. This is an optional building. This is a garage, right? I have this here to house my medium garage as well as my small one, and as a second purpose to be the oil refinery production line that I have going on here. I have pumps set up over here in the ground, and it's quick access here while also being protected from the outside. And I was using these what is it called, crescent foundations. I was able to still protect them while keeping them directly connected to the ground. They pump out the oil that I need, and these little machines here refine them. I have multiple ones because the process of the oil refinery takes a very long time, as you might know. It takes about 30 minutes to pump out one premium fuel barrel, and it takes about 30 minutes to pump out like a handful of regular gas when you're converting crude oil into gas. And here's the extra stairway. So this stairway connects directly to the house. There's two reasons why I have this. On top of being a way of access for players or me, because I'll be deleting these staircases, I'll have at least one way to get back up, which isn't directly connected to the front, even though it is pretty close to it. And it'll be through here. I'm going to close off this wall here completely and put like one doorway for somebody to come in through. Like I said, this building is pretty optional, and I'm going to show you why. Now let's get into the first floor. This is where you would place all your facilities and do all your crafting and just general farming stuff, and also storage. This is for practical reasons because you're going to be just coming in through the grounds. You know, you don't have to run all the way upstairs to have to deal with everything. And I also have a strange door here that links up to the top floor in case I do need to go up there pretty quickly, and because of the fact that I spawn up there whenever I teleport back to this location. So instead of having to run down the entire staircase, I could just walk through this strange door and I'll be out here on the main floor where everything happens, the magic happens essentially. Now I moved my electricity and generators from being on the top floor to this area as well, since I have more space to house it. The reason being is because when it's on the top floor, like with the first build, with the purification thing, you're at risk of losing your power. So being able to have that separate makes it a lot more safe. I also have the switchable pylons, or I guess just the switchboards, on the wall instead of it being outside, right next to the generators for ease of access for everything. The setup and the idea with this is the same. The left side is the facilities. Oh no, the right side's the facilities, the left side's all the defense and everything like that. And now for the backyard. So I have some more generators out here since the backyard is placed directly into the river, and I would suggest trying to do that when you set this up. Try to make sure that your house is set up in the river, at least the back portion, so you could harvest your water as well as use the water for your power. The generators are right here for now. I can move them, and I will be moving the rest of them into the portion underneath the staircase. But on the right side, you have your water harvesting systems. So you got your water pumps, which you can stack. I showed it in a shorts video not too long ago on my channel as well as on stream. But I found that you can stack your water pumps in case you want to save some space. And instead of having them directly next to each other, you can have them on top of each other and they will still just function the same. This gathers water, totally fine. I have the osmosis purifiers right next to it for ease of access as well. And they all connect to the pumps, which push them into both the irrigation systems, which is right here with the alcove farming room. This is my grow room. Very easy to, I guess, organize. It's built inside of the wall. There is a small issue of thinking about this is kind of a weak spot for the defense, but since it's raised up so high, you don't really have to worry much about it, and the materials for farming are pretty cheap, so if I lost this I wouldn't really be too sad, but it never really happens anyway for the tests I've done. So they tend to come in through the front sides of the house, being the fact that this is pushed up against the river and they don't like water. They don't travel across water at all. If they were to spawn across the water, they'd stay across the water, and the best thing they could do is shoot a bunch of projectiles. Now this area doesn't have a staircase leading back up to the wall because it just would take up a lot of space, and also you could just come in through this side and come back out, or just come in through this side and go to the strange door, which would be even much faster than having to run back all the way up. Now for the second floor. The second floor I placed all my deviations up here. I felt like it just saved a lot of space, and so I ended up expanding my collection of deviations. In the first guide, in the first video, the deviation alcove was really small and meant for newer players that don't have a lot of deviations or the need for more. Since I needed to expand and I needed to farm even more, it benefited me to have a ton of space for the deviations, and the second floor opened up that opportunity for me. And the second floor, just like in the first building, is where I kind of put all my furniture, all my like decorations and what have you, to make it look a little bit more homey, feel a little bit more nice. When I mentioned before that this build has a lot of opportunity for variations, for customization essentially, for your playstyle, the second floor, it could be used for anything that you want other than just deviation and furniture placement. If you don't want the garage, you could place the oil refineries into here instead, and you could make up space in the front alcove to place pumps, fuel pumps that you could connect to something else, or you could also find the space in the back. I'm sure if you move things around, you'll be able to figure that out. Or you could also have it just set outside the wall, right? A bunch of different options. It's take up a lot less space than having a whole garage if you don't really care about that stuff. If you don't really use the tractor trailers, the pickup trucks, or what have you, if you just use your own personal vehicle, you'll be able to just make a smaller little thing on the outside. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. When I first was playing around with this design, I actually had the small garage right here. So if you put up 4 foundations here, you'll be able to fit the small garage, no problem. And you'll be able to also put in like a small staircase that extends out here that doesn't really block off the entire front portion, the front entrance, so you can still get through, and it'll allow you to get up here a lot easier. Also, for the second floor, I just want to kind of show this off. I built a little cute bathroom. And it works just fine. It's actually why I had this pump inside the first floor right here, running from the tank upwards, just to be able to provide plumbing for your essentials for relaxing, you know. And now for the third floor and the roof. So the third floor is completely a tactical thing. I needed a shooting platform, some type of like place that's above everything else that I could actually see where all the enemies are coming and provide some type of opportunity to be able to shoot them from here. And if they, because I know that the distance or the viewpoint from here to over there is pretty limited. You can't really see beyond the wall or like what might be in front of the wall. I put this staircase that goes straight to the roof, and the roof is flat to allow for a better shooting platform. a lot more like visuals and opportunities to get rid of those enemy types. And like I said before, since all the staircases are all over the place, you could just jump off whenever you need to, take care of a certain problem in a certain area, get back up with no problem. And the inside of the roof is where the Stardust Resonant filter is going to be. I put this in here, placed with a bunch of walls around it, so it has that extra cushion, and I have these columns for support for everything else. So for enemy types to have to try to get to the machine, they have to run, at least the ones that are on the floor have to run through a lot or bust through a lot in order to get up here. And the flying ones have to have a lot of like distance between them and the machine, while they have to not only bust through the first layer of protection, but the second layer of protection that's going to be here. And by the time that they even manage to do any type of damage to this portion, like the outside, they're probably already dead because of the turrets as well as my own guns and whoever's helping me firing upon these guys. And now for the placements for defense, right? Just like the original design, I have turrets on all four corners of the building. Now, what I love about this design, because of these little alcoves, I'm able to put these shotguns here and on the other side as well. It's a lot better than the defense high-rise fortifications I was having before. It takes care of a lot of the little guys that come in over here. And I'll be also having 2 shotgun turrets over here, because I know that sometimes that they come into the front, and it'll be very good to be able to protect this side as well. I do have to keep in mind that the garage here is in the way a bit of this turret, but I could also just put the turret over here, or just put more defenses all around the side. And lining the wall, I don't have it set up right now, but lining up the wall with sandbags to protect the foundation, to provide even more cushion, as well as those gravitational grips and spike traps if your defense can handle it, will be a great idea. And last but not least, having a tractor trailer or a pickup truck in the front or on the sides where your defense might be slacking a little bit, or you want to add a little bit of extra firepower, because there is a limit for how much defense that you could have in your house. So for example, I could have 4 turrets and 5 grips or whatever, and I can't put more than that. It'll put a limit. I forget what the number of limit is, but if you want more turrets, you could just get rid of the grips and you could put more turrets. If you want more grips, you can get rid of the turrets, put more grips, and the same thing applies with the spike traps and the fire traps as well. That does not apply to some of the extra stuff like the sandbags or the high-rise fortifications. It doesn't seem like there's a limit on those at all. Now, connecting these guys is pretty fun. There's a lot of cool not resource management, but like cable management going on here. I have terminals set up in these like little crevices that I couldn't really fill up because of just the fact that this is curves and we don't have like a piece that fits here that covers up the hole. So I was able to hide it in there, so it'll also be protected. And because they're like on each side, I could have them all connected to that instead of having them daisy chained to each other, and then connect them to the switchable pylon that's on the wall here, without having to worry about, like, let's say if something destroys or gets destroyed, that thing's connected to, and then the power all goes out for all of them. I don't have to worry about that at all. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to like build the actual base for this thing. When you're trying to accomplish this, you want to keep in mind when you start off building the actual base foundation and everything like that, to find a spot that's really flat. You could always move your territory. So if the spot that you want to move your territory on is kind of hard to build, I would recommend building this first on a much more flatter space, wait the timer, and then move the house to where you want it to be. Alright, now I'm going to show you how to place these things. I would recommend trying to find a flat territory. If the spot that you want to move to or move on isn't the most flat area, you could always just build your base somewhere more flat and then move it later on. But just keep that in mind when you're trying to do this, because you don't want anything that's uneven or into the ground preventing you from being able to like finish the actual build, right? Also, when you're trying to place a foundation and you run into something like this where it starts to stick into the ground, all you really need to do is when you're placing your foundation, use Alt and the mouse wheel, move it upwards, and you can move the foundation upwards, and you can use that as a starting spot. Right, so for now, for this build, I'm going to move it up a little bit just to make sure it doesn't like clip into any of the other areas that I'm going to be building around. You're going to place 3 of these bad boys down, and the 4th corner is going to be a fan foundation. You're going to have that curve corner going on here. And then you're just going to want to put that on all sides. You want to complete this essentially. There you go. You're going to come out with something a little bit like this. And you just want to fill up the insides right afterwards. And here is the initial square. This is where the actual house with everything that you're going to have is going to be. Now I'm going to show you how I ended up building the walls that kind of stick out of it. When you put columns on your base, not just on the walls but also in between everything, so when you put your ceilings and floors in, you'll avoid a lot of the issues that you might run into when you're trying to build something. And once you have the walls set up, you're going to go to each corner and you're going to make something that looks like this. This is going to be the foundation for the extended wall, right? So in order to get this on a corner, all you gotta do is put a fan foundation on each side around this spot, and then you're gonna take your regular square foundations and just make a point with this, right? And you want to do the same thing on all 4 corners of your base. All right, and now you have the foundation for the most part. So to extend the wall like I have it in my base, all you really need to do is take these square foundations and just extend them out this way and bring them around so they could reconnect to the actual house. You can make this as big as you want, as large as your territory needs to be, so you could fill up as much as you want in here without having to worry about it not being protected, right? So if you need like a bigger spot to have your garage, you could definitely do that. And you just do the same thing on the other side, and you could even do it all around entirely to have much more cushion. Depends on how much defense you need. If the game ever releases higher level cortexes and makes purification processes at the base a lot harder, you'll be able to expand and increase the defense of this kind of design as much as you want. Now, I'm not going to get into building the entire rest of the house because the rest of the house kind of just like falls into place. All you really need to do is put columns in here, build a ceiling floor, do the same thing again on top of here, and then just top it off with like a rooftop system. And that part you could also design any way you want as well. It doesn't need to be the exact way that I have it. This is just a foundation of what you could do from here on out. All right, there you have it. That's about everything when it comes to building a base when you're at a much higher level. This is the end game base that I've been using. If you have any questions about how to get things done, or maybe you were trying to do what I did and for some reason it's not working out for you, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always open when it comes to that kind of stuff. I have a Discord. You could let me know in the comments below. You could send me a DM, and anywhere that you feel comfortable doing that with. All my socials are going to be in the description below, so feel free to check that out. Also, join my Discord community. I have a Discord community. We talk, we exchange things, we play together as well. So check that out. I also have an Instagram and a Twitch channel, which is where I do most of my content from. Most of my shorts come from my streams, so you could check me out there. I'm at twitch.tv/boo_radleyxx. Thank you so much for watching, for getting up to this point. Thank you everybody who supports me. Like I said earlier on, I really do appreciate all this, and I really hope I was able to help you, or the watcher, the viewer, with whatever issues you might have been dealing with your base. Peace out and enjoy Once Human.